Hello. It's April 8th. This is a month after I got to Gainesville. Um, so I actually got to this part of Georgia on March 8th. And I am still plugging along. I do think I'll be out of Georgia and by the weekend. Weekend. So in a week I'll be out of Georgia. I'll be in North Carolina. Hopefully I'll be essentially I'll have the equipment that I need to finish the hike, unless something tears or rips or whatever. I did not. All right, last night I spent in Helen, as I did on the previous video. It will be several days before we get an update. Before you get an update with this video, I uploaded everything that I had last night. I did not upload the April pictures to the website. However, I did upload the April pictures to the Facebook group. So if you go to photo albums, I've got photo albums for March, I got photo albums for April. So any pictures I take, like the ones I took today, as the flowers develop and I see, because it's the same type of plants that I'm seeing virtually every day, so I get to take almost like a time-lapse photography of how the flowers are growing. Things are starting to get buds. Some of these trees are getting kind of a rust colored buds, and those will be turning green soon. I'm now at a viewpoint 0.1 mile north of the summit of Rocky Mountain, which is just this side of Unicoi Gap, which is where I was picked up yesterday to go into Helen, and which is where I was dropped off today. I'm finding that the day after I go into town, I feel heavy and I don't really get a lot done. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I actually had full meals for breakfast and lunch, and because I had breakfast. Actually, I had a buffet breakfast with scrambled eggs, and it was the Best Western, but it's actually called the Baymont now. They have a hiker special of $55 plus $5 for each additional person. Of course, Helen is does all their building codes, so everything looks like it came from Bavarian village. So they're into being a touristy place or a romantic place. They got little shops. They got it's a little pricier, and it seems like they have a little bit higher taxes as well. My $55 room, which I split with someone, ended up having $15 tacked on as taxes and fees from the city. Of course, most places do that, most notably around airports. This is like I said, a viewpoint. Let me swing around. All right. I don't know how well you can see that, but there's an absolute big honking mountain right out there that's just sticking right out of basic flatlands all around it. So, and then you look over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this around in a minute and walk back to my pack. So, Aunt Alice, this is kind of as an answer to you with strapping the GoPro to my chest. It's just to show, and this is actually kind of a gentle place to go down the hill a little bit. But anyway, I did neglect to give you my haiku for the Blue Mountain shelter. Half the distance from Low Gap Shelter to Blue Mountain Shelter was an old, probably a CCC road that wasn't in use as a road anymore, but had a trail going down it, and it was wonderfully graded, and it was a nice walk. It was slightly uphill the whole way, and I felt really comfortable the whole way. It was, I liked it. Then after that, it went to the north side of the mountains, and on the north side of the mountains, there's a couple things going on. One, because it's the north side of a mountain, the moss always grows on the north side of the tree. It definitely grows on the north side of a mountain, especially in Georgia. And it was also the side where, so I don't know what's the reason, but the talus slopes. Talus is where a bunch of rocks they kind of are sitting there in the middle of a rock slide, and they just haven't moved. If it's doesn't have a lot of moss growing on it, then you probably want to be a lot more careful than these. So I figure they've been running a trail through there for 50, 60, 80 years, and they still haven't moved a lot of the big dang rocks that are right in the middle of the path. And it was a lot of up and down and around and over and through, and just a big honking mess. So anyway, here's the haiku. And remember, Thursday was the day with all the ice and snow, just all frickin' day long. And then that night, I literally felt I was going to freeze to death. Maybe not freeze. Well, no, freeze to death was actually, hypothermia was definitely on my mind. I got in my sleeping bag. I stopped immediately. Once I decided where I was going to, I stopped, and I immediately set up my tent. Immediately, rolled out my pad, and got in my sleeping bag, and then put a emergency blanket, which is a thin sheet of silverized plastic under, and then I got into kind of another one, which was emergency blanket, which was kind of like a tube. And it was longer than me, so I tucked it under my feet, and I had my Crocs down at that end, so I wouldn't be resting my feet on the ground. And I set up my tent on a thick bed of, admittedly, wet leaves, but it was the best I could do. But the problem is that in the morning, as the night wore on, the condensation from all the rain that was in my clothes, evaporating and then condensating on the emergency blanket, and then getting soaked up by the blanket, as well as just the condensation coming off of my body and my breath, because I had my head tucked in as much as I could, and I tried to still keep my mouth where I was breathing out, but a lot of that came into the sleeping bag with me and condensed on the inside of that emergency blanket, which reflected the heat well, but didn't breathe at all. So my sleeping bag was wet by the time I got up, and that, of course, meant that it wasn't doing very well at keeping the heat in, And so when I got up, I actually, I'd have to stop and hold my hands under my arms or next to my belly or whatever to warm them up, and I'd have to do that every I'd do 30 seconds of work with my hands, and then I'd do 2 minutes of warming them back up, taking down my tent and packing my bags and packing my backpack. So with that, understand, and of course, the wind was just blowing 25 miles per hour, and it had gotten to 22 degrees the night before. So with that being said, I was definitely worried. Although I think I was doing better than the night that I spent, that it was 15 degrees just outside of Amicalola. So tonight, I actually, from the hotel that I was at, I actually asked them if they had a sheet or a couple of pillowcases that they couldn't put in a room because they were in too bad a shape. And she brought out two queen sheets and a pillowcase, and I was like, well, let me just take one of the sheets, and and it weighs about twice what my sleeping bag weighs. But I'm going to try to use it as extra insulation at night to keep warm. So with that understanding, so I've been carrying extra weight just for that, and I've been carrying full water, which probably was my own idiocy because I didn't check to see how often I'd find water. But there's more water everywhere in the map, and the guide both say water everywhere. So I just didn't pay attention. So I've been carrying an extra 4 pounds of water for no real reason. Anyhow, so with that being said, let me go ahead and give my haiku. And yes, John Denver is being referenced here with one of these lines. So, country road, take me. Ice and snow and rain freeze me. Cold night wind bite me. Anyway, so yeah, that was kind of by yesterday morning I was pretty much there. But by the time I hiked down to the gap, it was a lot warmer, and I was feeling rather warm and wanting to take off my Angry Bird hat and my jacket and everything. But and you can see right now I'm in a t-shirt. But tonight is supposed to get to 20s again, so like I said, I'm going to try to warm up. And now, I'm thinking that if I get warm tonight, real warm, I have 16 miles from the gap to the gap where I'm supposed to get, for the 4th time, a decent replacement sleeping bag. And if I can do that, if I get that sleeping bag, it'll be an all worth it type of a week for me, because I need to do 16 miles in about 4 days. It's supposed to rain on Tuesday. It's supposed to be cold every night. If I get more than that, then I'll probably try to stay in during the rain on Tuesday and hike down on Wednesday, because I think Wednesday's supposed to be okay. So with that being said, once again, this is April 8th, 1 month in. 1 month in Georgia. So, I was going to do this. So I'm on a little bit of a ledge. So now this is wet. There's probably a little spring up in here. And I walk down here. So as you look, you can see that actually without a load, this is fairly easy to hip hop around. So when you see someone that says that, like last year there was someone that did the entire trail in 46 days. Well, what they did is that they actually had a van that moved ahead of them and set up their camp every night, set up their food, and all they really had to do was have a small backpack, and I say backpack, a small day pack, that for that day's provisions. So probably some water and other things. So that's a little taste of it. I might try a little bit more adventurous area if I feel, maybe even if I can get a chest harness. But I'm not as happy with this phone as a camera. It works great as a camera, but as I've said before, I can't get any pictures of wildlife because I can't zoom in on them. And the phone shuts off on me. The phone says I'm not. The phone, if I'm not fiddling around with it, it blanks out and it goes to the generic mode, or just turns off altogether. Which is a good way of saving energy, but not a good way if you're trying to set up taking a picture of a living object. So this is actually one of my longest videos yet, and it's a pretty place. I'm going to try to hike the mile straight down and then about a mile gently up to an old dairy, which they call a cheese factory, on the approach to Tray Mountain, which I suppose is that one over there, although I don't know. So anyway, signing off.